Inside Buckingham Palace and across the royal residences, there exists a world the public never sees. It's not the world of cameras, press statements, or carefully staged royal appearances. It's the early morning world, the late night world, the in-between moments where the royal family is not performing their roles, but simply living inside them. And in that space, the real monarchy quietly reveals itself. There are people who move through those rooms every day without ever appearing in a photograph. Household staff, advisors, attendants, aides, people who iron the clothes, prepare the meals, arrange the schedules, and stand just outside the frame of royal life. They don't just witness history, they live beside it. And most of them follow one unspoken rule. You see everything, you say nothing. That silence is not just tradition. It is the foundation of how the royal household survives. But now, according to multiple sources familiar with internal palace dynamics, that silence has been broken by someone who was never supposed to break it. A senior member of royal staff, someone deeply embedded in the structure of royal service, has reportedly refused to carry out a direct duty involving Queen Camilla. And in doing so, they have triggered one of the most sensitive internal disruptions the institution has faced in years. This is not about gossip from outside the palace. This is about someone who was inside it. To understand why this matters so much, you have to understand what royal household staff actually are. These are not ordinary employees in the traditional sense. They are part of a system built on proximity and absolute discretion. They don't just work for the royals. They serve them in a way that blends professionalism with near-total confidentiality. They are present during private conversations, emotional moments, family tensions, and the kinds of everyday realities that never reach the public. They know who sleeps well and who doesn't. They know the rhythms behind the polished public image. They see the royal family without the filter. And for the most part, they carry that knowledge quietly for life. But every so often, something changes. According to sources, this particular staff member had served across multiple royal households, not just one branch of the royal family. That means exposure to different eras, different relationships, and different internal dynamics at the highest level of the monarchy. Most significantly, this person was present during the years surrounding Princess Diana's marriage to then Prince Charles, a period still heavily discussed in royal family news, still emotionally charged, and still shaping public perception of the monarchy decades later. This staff member, according to insiders, was not observing from a distance. They were inside the room where key moments unfolded, and that matters because their refusal to serve Queen Camilla is not being described as a casual disagreement or a simple workplace conflict. It is being framed as something far more significant inside the institution. A line was drawn. Sources suggest the refusal occurred during a formal household duty. Nothing ceremonial or symbolic, but a routine part of royal service. In that moment, instead of proceeding as expected, the staff member reportedly declined. Not loudly, not publicly, not in a way designed to create a scene. Just a direct refusal. And when asked to explain, the reasons reportedly referenced specific past experiences and specific events witnessed during years of service inside the royal household. That detail is what changed everything, because inside the royal system, most internal disagreements can be managed. Most tensions can be contained. But when a staff member ties their refusal to first-hand experiences involving historical events inside the palace, the situation stops being about conduct and becomes about memory, record, and credibility. And those are things the monarchy cannot easily control. The palace, according to sources, responded quickly. This is standard procedure. The royal household is structured to contain internal issues before they become public. Conversations were initiated, clarifications were sought, and attempts were made to understand the nature of the refusal. In most cases, situations like this are resolved quietly, but this time insiders say it was different. Because the staff member reportedly referenced 3 separate areas of concern during internal discussions. The first involved Princess Diana, not the public version of Diana that exists in documentaries and archives, but the lived day-to-day reality inside the royal household during her marriage. The atmosphere, the treatment, the emotional environment, and the institutional pressure surrounding her position as Princess of Wales. According to these accounts, the staff member described witnessing moments that shaped how Diana was treated behind palace doors. Situations involving subtle but consistent signals about her standing within the institution. These are the kinds of details that never appear in official royal statements, but remain embedded in the memories of those who were present. The second area involved Queen Camilla's early presence in Charles's life, and how that period intersected with the breakdown of Charles and Diana's marriage. This is where royal family history becomes especially sensitive, because the narrative surrounding that era has always been contested, interpreted differently depending on perspective, and heavily influenced by decades of public discourse. The staff member, according to sources, did not present speculation. They referenced specific moments they personally witnessed while working inside the household. And that is what made the refusal so difficult for the palace to simply dismiss. The third and most sensitive area involved the period immediately following Princess Diana's death in 1997. According to insiders, the staff member claims direct knowledge of internal reactions within the household during the hours and days surrounding the accident in Paris. Conversations, decisions, and the atmosphere inside the royal environment during a moment that remains one of the most scrutinized events in modern royal history. Even the suggestion of first-hand internal knowledge from that period carries enormous weight inside the institution, because it touches not just on memory, but on narrative control. Once the refusal occurred, the palace reportedly attempted to manage the situation through internal channels. This is how the royal household typically handles sensitive matters involving staff. Conversations are held privately, concerns are addressed institutionally, and efforts are made to prevent escalation. But according to sources, this case did not resolve easily. The staff member reportedly stood by their position and ultimately left royal service. And leaving the royal household does not simply mean resigning from a job. It means stepping out of a tightly controlled environment where information flow is heavily restricted and into a world where what you have seen can no longer be contained by institutional structure. That is where things become more complicated, because according to multiple insider accounts, this individual has not remained completely silent since leaving. Over time, fragments of what they reportedly know have been shared with individuals connected to broader royal reporting circles. Not in public declarations, but through private channels. And this is where Prince William enters the picture. William, now increasingly seen as the future driving force of the monarchy, is said to have been made aware of certain internal perspectives that align with this staff member's experiences, not as a single source of truth, but as part of a wider pattern of information that has shaped his understanding of the institution he is preparing to inherit. For William, the significance is not just about one staff member or one refusal. It is about how the internal culture of the monarchy is documented in memory, in witness accounts, and in long-standing institutional behavior. And according to those close to royal dynamics, this has contributed to a more structured and deliberate approach in how he engages with sensitive aspects of royal history. The Palace Code of Silence has always been one of the monarchy's strongest protections. It ensures stability, continuity, and control over narrative. But it only works when everyone inside the system continues to uphold it. When someone breaks from that structure, even quietly, even years later, the impact is not always immediate. But it is lasting, because it introduces something the institution cannot fully manage: a competing record of what happened behind closed doors. And that is why this staff member's refusal is being viewed as more than an isolated incident. It is being seen as part of a larger, ongoing tension between institutional history and personal testimony. Inside royal circles, this raises uncomfortable questions about loyalty, truth, and memory. Is loyalty to the institution absolute, or does it shift when personal experience conflicts with official narrative? Is silence a duty or a burden? And what happens when someone who served at the highest level decides they can no longer participate in that silence? The answer to those questions is not simple, and the monarchy has never had to deal with them in a fully transparent way. What is clear, however, is that this single act of refusal has reopened discussions inside the royal world about events that were never fully settled in the public eye. Princess Diana's legacy continues to sit at the center of those conversations. So does the long and complicated history involving King Charles and Queen Camilla. And now, layered on top of all of it, is the growing influence of Prince William as the future king, shaping how the monarchy will handle its past as well as its future. From the outside, it may look like a single staff dispute, but inside royal circles, it is being treated as something far more sensitive, because it is not just about what happened in one moment. It is about what that moment represents. And as more details slowly surface through indirect channels, one thing is becoming increasingly clear. The royal household may control its public image, but it does not control memory. And memory, once it is outside the palace walls, does not stay silent.